Welcome everyone. This is our one meeting in July. This is the regular council meeting of the Weyburn City Council held in council chambers, 5 p.m. Monday, July 20th. The first thing that I'd like to make note, Mr. Chessel will not be here with us. He is otherwise disposed. But we still have a quorum and we'll be moving forward. First thing is approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting, strategic planning and priorities meeting held June 22nd, 2020. Do you have a motion, please?
Your Worship, I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. Additions to the agenda. Mr. Warren?
Your Worship, there's no additions from administration tonight.
Members of council? Going forward, there's no public hearings and notices. We're under delegations, proclamations, and petitions. We have one proclamation. I shall read it. Whereas let's start again. This is National Drowning Prevention Week proclamation. Whereas the mission of the Life Saving Society of Canada is to prevent drowning throughout this great country, and even one drowning in Saskatchewan is one too many. And whereas most drownings are preventable in a water-smart community, and only through water-smart education and healthy respect for the potential danger that any body of water may present, can we truly enjoy the beautiful and recreational opportunities offered by these bodies of water. And whereas Life Saving Society urges Canadians and residents of Weyburn in the province of Saskatchewan to supervise children who are in and around water, to refrain from drinking alcoholic beverages while participating in aquatic activities, and to wear personal flotation device or life jacket at all times when boating. And whereas the Life Saving Society of Canada has declared July 19th to the 25th, 2020 National Drowning Prevention Week to focus on the drowning problem and the hundreds of lives that could save this year. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Marcel Roy, Mayor, City of Weyburn, do hereby proclaim July 19th to the 25th, 2020 National Drowning Prevention Week in the City of Weyburn, and do commend its thoughtful recognition to all citizens of Weyburn. Is anyone here from society? No. Moving forward here, reports of standing committees, there are none. Consent agenda, we have the water treatment plant June report, cash activity report of June, building department report of June, accounts receivable report June, tax collection report of June 2020. Do I have a motion to receive?
Your Worship, I'd like to make the motion that all items on the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Carried unanimously. And those will be filed onto the Weyburn City website. Motions, accounts payable.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to make the motion that the purchases in the amount of $1,891,746.98 from June 19th to July 17th, 2020 be approved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Environmental Resource Committee appointment. Jennifer.
Sorry. So yeah, we have one application for the Environment Committee. Tyler McMillan has approached asking to join the committee. So we're looking for approval for his appointment.
Do you have a motion, please?
Yes, Your Worship, I'm very pleased to make the motion that Tyler McMillan be appointed to the City of Weyburn Environmental Resource Committee for the remainder of 2020.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Water treatment annual report. Jennifer?
Yeah, so this is just a presentation on the 2019 annual water treatment report. As required by waterworks and sewage works regulations, once a year, as operators of a waterworks supplying water intended for human consumption or hygienic use, shall provide consumers a notification of the quality of water produced or supplied by the waterworks in comparison with levels set out in those regulations, and the permittee's compliance with sample submission requirements described in the permittee's permit. So City of Weyburn's Public Water Treatment System Annual Report for 2019 summarizes the water utility's ability to produce safe potable water and comply with the provincial regulations. So just a bit of a summary here. The City of Weyburn Water Treatment Facility has 2 trains, Plant 100 and 200, and is a large municipal residential Class 4 chemically assisted filtration plant capable of delivering approximately 10,000 cubic meters of treated water to the community each day. The city has a population of 10,679 as recorded with the 2016 census. The yearly average estimated daily volume was 4,981.5 meters cubed per day. Our peak was 10,000 meters cubed per day, and our minimum in the winter was 3,000 meters cubed. There was no difficulties encountered in meeting the treated water demand of the city. Water samples collected as required by the permit throughout the process at varying frequencies are tested for different parameters to evaluate treatment efficiency and to ensure finished water quality. These test parameters include critical indicators related to potential acute health effects such as E. coli, trace contaminants typically associated with chronic long-term effects such as heavy metals and synthetic organic compounds, and non-health related parameters that aid in assessing process efficiency or the aesthetic quality of the drinking water such as alkalinity or pH. With the exceptional and marginal exceedance of the drinking water standards for THMs and HAAs, concentration, all test results from 2019 met the stringent requirements of the SAS drinking water quality standards. Administration is asking that council approve the City of Weyburn's Public Water Treatment System Annual Report for 2019.
Your Worship, I'd like to make the motion that the 2019 Annual Water Treatment Report for the City of Weyburn be accepted as presented.
Second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Mr. Mickle.
Hi, Your Worship. Thanks, Jennifer, for your water report, but the question I have to you, and I hope you don't think I'm throwing you under the bus because that's not the intention. The water treatment plant is a very key factor in the City of Weyburn. We spent a lot of money, quite a bit a year ago, on the building right east of that. The fascia around the water treatment plant is you're smiling already, you know what I mean. It's a terrible blue, it's all blistering. Is there any plan of attack to address that? Because it's a beautiful facility, but it's outdated with all the metal that's deteriorated.
Yeah, so we actually had updated that when we had done the expansion. We are dealing with a few warranty issues on that right now, but we are dealing with them and they should be repaired this year. So it's just dealing with a warranty issue right now.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. I know you've been asked this, so I'll just throw it out there. I've had a few folks reach out with just some questions about the smell of the water right now. I know that that's sort of a seasonal thing that happens, but if you could just give us a quick explanation of why that is again.
Yeah, so obviously that has a lot to do with temperature, and then because we pull from a surface water, that is something we're continually dealing with. So when it rains or we get a lot of runoff, it does stir up the surface water, and then we do have that smell. So it is something that we adjust it, then the weather, the water changes the quality, so we adjust it again. So it is a continual thing we do, and we are obviously that is something that is very key to us that we're always trying to deal with, but we always are looking at it. It just sometimes takes a day because of what's already in our reservoirs that we're pulling from. It might take a day to adjust it, so.
So nothing to worry about, you're on it, and it'll be fine soon.
Yeah, exactly, and even with the smell, it is still tested. It is completely safe for human consumption. There is no issues whatsoever there.
just to finish off what Mr. Mickle had said, coming down East Avenue on the east side, there's also, it was never finished or painted to match either. Would that all be done at the same time as this warranty work?
Yeah, we are looking at the whole building presentation, I guess.
Okay, on that. All right. Do we have a motion? All in favor of passing? Passed unanimously. Pedestrian ramp installation and concrete repairs. Jennifer?
Okay, so for the 2020 pedestrian ramp installation and concrete repairs, we have two parts. First is addressing our pedestrian ramps, which is an annual program, and this is installing accessible pedestrian ramps at priority locations within the city. We have 17 locations at 7 intersections this year. As you can see, 5th Street and Maple Drive, 5th Street and 5th Avenue, 13th Street, we have 5th Avenue, Brimacombe Drive, Duncan Drive, Douglas Road, and Duncan Drive again. So this is budgeted as a total of $35,000 under the Public Works expenses to complete the work. The second part is government road sidewalk. Water main replacement, asphalt repairs were completed during 2018-2019. Due to this construction activity, there remains an extent to sidewalk and walkway crossings which require the repair. So along the west side of Government Road from Prairie Avenue to Cotto Avenue, we are going to replace separate sections of sidewalk paneling, curbing, and accesses which are due. We'll also install 2 pedestrian routes to be located at the intersection of Prairie Avenue and Cotto Avenue West. A total of $100,000 has been budgeted for this work. On June 9th, a proposal was reissued on SAS Tenders on the city website. The RFP was divided into the 2 parts as explained above, and potential bidders were informed they could bid on either or both of the parts. Quotations were received by the city of Weyburn on July 13th at 2 p.m. A total of 5 proposals were received. 1 was submitted late, so it is not included in the assessment. So we had 4 valid proposals. It is recommended that parts 1 and 2 of the 2020 pedestrian ramp installation and concrete repair be awarded to North Star Concrete. Part 1 was $35,853 and part 2 was $42,180.
Do you have a motion, please?
Thanks for that, Jennifer. I'm pleased to make a motion that the bid of North Star Concrete, Inc. of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, to provide the installation of accessible pedestrian ramps at the locations set out by the Director of Engineering in the amount of $35,853 and the replacement of a sidewalk on Government Road from Prairie Avenue to Cotto Avenue in the amount of $42,180 be accepted.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Mel?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I was just wondering, as the sidewalk came in under budget, is there any thought of expanding the scope of, say, the ramp installations?
We haven't looked at it this time, and a lot of it, I think, to do with what kind of schedule we get and if we would have enough construction season left to take advantage of that. So at this time, because we don't have a schedule, it's really hard to say.
Okay, thank you.
Does this also include someone watching to make sure that nothing is going to be damaged while it sets? I would hope, because that's a lot of sidewalk that's going to be poured there.
Yeah, we'll be doing regular inspections, and we will ensure that that isn't happening.
Seeing no further discussion, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Water main replacement, First Avenue Southeast.
So the 2020 budget is allocated $200,000 for the First Avenue Southeast water main replacement. Contractors were requested to replace and reroute approximately 240 meters of 200 millimeter water main and associated infrastructure, cut and cap and abandon approximately 105 meters of existing water main, and then backfill, compact, and suitably prepare sub-base and base for paving. Following this work, the city will require another contractor to repave the affected section of roadway. On June 29th, the First Avenue Southeast Water Main Replacement Request for Proposal was posted on SAS Tenders and the city's website. Quotations were received by the City of Weyburn as of July 14th. A total of 6 proposals were received, and the result of the proposals are as follows. It is recommended that the 2020 First Avenue Southeast Water Main Replacement contract be awarded to Margette's Construction of Weyburn Sask as outlined for a total of $121,822.50.
I have a motion, Your Worship, that I'd like to put forward that the bid of Margette Construction for the First Avenue Southeast Water Main Replacement Project in the amount of $121,822.50, including GST and PST, be accepted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Any discussion? Questions? And what time frame are we going to be, is it going to be going on this right away?
Yeah, we'll be, once we have awarded, then we go back to our contractors and determine schedule. But it will be promptly.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. City Library Furnaces Replacement. Mr. Crow.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as included within the 2020 facilities budget, the City of Weyburn library furnace system components are well beyond their expected life cycle and are beginning to fail on us, and we've actually had to do a little bit of minor work there to get us through the last winter. Due to the complexity of the project, HDA Engineering was contracted to redesign the system and manage the tendering process on our behalf to ensure that the city would be left with an efficient system that works for us. HDA is the same engineering firm looking after our mechanical equipment over at WRCC, so we know that we can trust what they're designing. So a request for tender was initiated and posted on the City of Weyburn website as well as SAS Tenders on June 9th and closed at 2 p.m. on June 23rd. We received a total of 6 submissions and 5 of them qualified. So the 5 qualifying bids are in front of you on the chart with Don's Plumbing and Heating, the low bid at $78,261. And Sewer and Pull in partnership with the high bid of $144,000. So this project includes the replacement of multiple furnaces throughout the building, multiple condensing units, other components of ductwork and plumbing required as necessary to finish the project. The City of Weyburn received 5 estimates, which did not include tax ranging from $78,261 to $144,000. A spread of $65,739 between the low and high bids. Each contractor was also asked to provide an estimated timeline for completion, which spanned from anywhere from 30 to 151 days. All qualifying contractors provided full bid packages and met the requirements outlined in the tender documents. With that being said, following a thorough review by our engineering firm as well as the city, I would like to recommend that the furnace replacement project be awarded to Don's Plumbing and Heating of Weyburn, Saskatchewan for a cost of $78,261.14 plus associated taxes.
Do you have a motion, please?
Your Worship, I'll make a motion that the bid of Don's Plumbing and Heating for the supply and installation of the Weyburn Public Library furnace in the amount of $78,261.14 plus tax be accepted.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Everybody's just is happy with that? Okay. Call to question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Introduction of bylaws, mail-in ballot bylaw.
Thanks, Your Worship. So I'm bringing forward a little bit of a change to the mail-in mail-in ballot bylaw that was passed in 2016. Back in 2016, we had approximately, which was the first time Weyburn offered mail-in ballots, I might add, we had approximately just under 50 people cast mail-in ballots. The process ran fairly smooth and things went well. So now I'm just having to adjust the bylaw. First of all, it doesn't include electronic vote counting equipment, which council has been kind enough to allow us to use this year. So I'm going to add that into the bylaw, as well as with the COVID-19 pandemic, that is anticipated there may be more of an uptake on mail-in ballots. I've had some discussions with the other city clerks in Saskatchewan and with the province, and we've worked with the province, Elections Saskatchewan, and I've worked with the other city clerks to come up with a mail-in ballot process that would allow people to do everything electronically if they choose to, or from their homes, so they don't have to register in person anymore. It used to be you had to register in person, and then the rest of the process could be done without contact. But we've now made a change to the bylaw to allow that registration process to also be electronic. The process is laid out fairly in detail in the bylaw. And so basically, I would ask that council would allow this bylaw to be changed to include not only the electronic vote counting equipment, but also the electronic mail-in ballot process. And I would ask that council give it all 3 readings at this meeting tonight. We're in a bit of a bind as far as time. I just need to get this through the quicker the better. So I've been very thorough and again worked with other cities, and most cities' bylaws are very similar. So yeah, that's what I'm asking of council tonight.
Do you have a motion?
Your Worship, I'll make a motion that bylaw 2020-3420 to allow for mail-in ballot voting for electors in the city of Weyburn be read a first time.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. To the city clerk, thanks so much. This is a lot of work you've put into this, so thank you very much. I know that, and I'm really comfortable with doing all 3 readings tonight because I know that it sounds like November 7th or 9th is a long ways away, but it isn't when you've got to get a lot of things in order. So I do appreciate that. One question I had is around ensuring confidentiality to make sure that my mail-in ballot remains not connected to me somehow when it comes time to count ballots. If you could just help us understand how that works.
Sure. So the process is after you've registered and we've verified your ID, that you have a voter ID and that sort of thing, then it comes, we send you out a package, a voting package, and in that package there's a series of envelopes. So what will happen is your ballot, after you fill it out, will be inserted into an envelope with no markings on that envelope. Then that envelope will be inserted into another envelope, which you will be required to sign so that we can verify that that piece of mail is from the same person that registered. So when we open the first envelope with your signature, we're going to verify your signature. But it's still going to be in another envelope, and we're going to deposit that in a box with all of the other mail-in ballots. So your anonymity will be protected, and the voter privacy is paramount for us in this situation.
Perfect. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Jeanette. On the electronic then, is that similar, or is it through email, or how is that working?
Yes, so what they'll do is they can contact me by phone, email, however they wish, and I will, hopefully we will have that all instructions on our website, which we will, and that will be probably provided to the public about mid-August. We will hope to have our website up so that the public can learn how to register. Registrations won't actually be accepted by the returning officer, which is myself, till September 1st. And even though we don't have ballots, we can still accept your registration. We just can't send you out the ballots until we receive them. So you can register anytime after September 1st. And by registering, you will fill out a voter registration form just like everybody does the day of election. But in addition to that, you will also have to fill out another form declaring that you are unable to vote on election day or choose not to vote on election day. Included in that, you will also have to scan a piece of ID, and you will have to also have a witness. And the witness can either be someone that lives in your house, a neighbor, a friend, a business person, whatever you wish, as long as they are also an eligible voter in the city of Weyburn, which they will too have to provide their ID of proof. So this entire package of information can be mailed to me. It can be scanned and emailed to me. So they have a couple of options. They can drop it in a night deposit if they don't want to come into City Hall during the day. So there's lots of options to get it to us. And as long as I receive that registration by 4 p.m., the last business day before the election, which would be the Friday, November 6th, I believe is the Friday, they will be registered to do the vote in. To get they'll have to get their ballots in, though, by 8 p.m. on election day. So there's a tight time frame there. If they register, likely we would have to hand deliver it to their mailbox. But as long as I receive their ballot by 8 p.m. on election day, their vote will be counted.
Mr. Members?
Thank you, Your Worship. Danette, so just to clarify, you can register electronically, but you cannot vote electronically. The voting has to be by mail.
Right, yes, you will get a actual paper ballot, which you will have to submit by mail or courier or drop it off. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Mickle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Danette, thank you for all the work. Wow, this is a lot of work. The question I have, this is for municipal elections. Would the provincial election be the same tone, or the federal, or?
The provincial, we are working very closely with the provincial election, and actually they already had an electronic process in place, so we asked to be given the same consideration for our elections so that we too could comply with all of the COVID-19 issues that are happening right now. So they were kind enough to allow us to do this.
I just want to express that I don't, I know that we've got a very small election here as municipally compared to federal and that, but once you start getting down this road of these things, it becomes a very dangerous thing for cemeteries to become alive and things, voter fraud to become very huge on this. And although they're there, that I don't agree with on principle of a mail-in of the ballots, the way they do the election, because there's too much. You can, the mail-in, when you're picking up, but once you start doing all the other one where you have absolutely no contact with the person at all, that becomes very sketchy onto this, and I really don't agree with that at all. There should be a pickup onto there, and that shouldn't be into the bylaw. But it's up to the rest of the council on that part. Go ahead. Call the question. All in favor? One against. Second reading?
Yep, Your Worship, I make a motion that Bylaw 2020-3420 to allow for mail-in ballot voting for electors in the city of Weyburn be read a second time.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? All in favor? One against. Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. I make a motion that Bylaw 2020-3420 to allow for mail-in ballot voting for electors in the city of Weyburn be given 3 readings tonight at this meeting.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
All in favor? Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. Finally, I will make a motion that Bylaw 2020-3420 to allow for mail-in ballot voting for electors in the city of Weyburn be read a 3rd time and passed.
I'll second that motion.
Call the question. All in favor? One against. Moving forward. No unfinished business. Home occupation, new business. Amanda?
The City of Weyburn has received an application from Megan Van Kuren to operate a barber shop at the above address, 33rd Avenue Southeast, Lot 11, Block 5, Plan 0888, located in R2 zone in the Weyburn Residence Company subdivision. Business will operate Mondays through Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and 3 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and anticipates 1 client at a time per appointment. The driveway will be on site to accommodate for off-street parking. Home-based occupations are permitted in R2 zone but generally deemed controversial, having clients come to the home, requiring public notification and council review. Neighborhood notices were mailed out on June 25th, 2020 to all neighbors within a 75-meter radius of the applicant's home. No concerns or issues have been brought forward. Therefore, staff recommends that council approve home occupation for 33rd Avenue Southeast, subject to the following conditions. No person other than the resident of the dwelling unit shall be engaged in the home occupation as an employee or a volunteer. No advertisement carrying out the address of the dwelling unit in which the home occupation occurs may be placed in any media. The face of any home business sign on site shall not exceed 0.092 meters squared and shall be placed within the inside half of the front yard setback. Home occupations are subject to periodic review to ensure compliance. The owner's driveway shall be used for off-street parking for the clients, and a City of Weyburn business license shall be obtained prior to operation of the home occupation.
Your worship, I'd like to make a motion that the home occupation application of Megan Van Kuren to operate a barber shop at 33rd Avenue Southeast, Lot 11, Block 5, Plan 0-888, in the R2 zone be approved with the conditions provided.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Offer to purchase city property, 424 10th Avenue Southeast.
Okay, so the Signal Hill Arts Center has been serving the Weyburn arts community since 1984 and has been operated by the City of Weyburn since 1987. The facility has served the community well. However, as established in long-term leisure service planning, the building will soon no longer be required by the Leisure Services Department. And that is due to the fact that all of the arts and culture programming currently going on in that space will be moved over to WRCC when it opens up to the public. Following a building appraisal process conducted in June 2019, the City of Weyburn released a request for proposal to the local real estate agents where they could outline their proposed fee structure, suggested sale price, and marketing strategy to sell the building. Bree Patterson of Royal LePage Signature was selected as the agent to represent the city, and the property was placed on the market as in condition in early September 2019 with a list price of $249,900. Following several months of the Signal Hill Arts Center on the market, the City of Weyburn received an offer to purchase, which is now being considered. So in June 2020, the City of Weyburn received an offer to purchase the Signal Hill Arts Center and a small section of bare land adjacent to the east of the building for the amount of $114,500 with a possession date taking place on August 14th, 2020. Within the purchase to offer, the buyers listed the following conditions. Acceptable inspection reports, miscellaneous furnishings from and equipment currently located throughout the building, and written approval granting a 5-year tax concession to allow for development of the property. So I will just add, the equipment that has currently been identified by the proposed buyer does not have any effect on our operations. It's none of our art-specific programming equipment that we need in the new facility. So the proposed use of the building is a mixture of commercial and residential units. Following the purchase, the owner will be required to go through necessary steps to have the property rezoned so that it can be used for its intended purposes. So the building has been deemed a municipal heritage property since 1985, and the proposed buyer is well aware of the history of the building and understands that through their renovations, the exterior look of the property must remain in compliance with the Heritage Property Act. So they've been provided with all of our Heritage Property Act documentation so that they could read it and understand it before they submitted their proposal to purchase, so that they could ensure that they followed those guidelines in place. So as the sale of the building for offer price was presented, that would be considered less than fair market value. The City of Weyburn was required to give public notice for 2 weeks of the intention to sell. So that public notice was advertised in the Weyburn Review on July 8th and the 15th, and to date, administration has not received any feedback from the public on the potential sale of the building. There's been nothing come in through the office. So if council would like to move ahead with the sale of Signal Hill Arts Center, there are 3 actions that are required. 1, to accept the purchase price of $114,500. 2, to provide the buyer with a 5-year tax exemption. to become effective following the successful closing of the sale. And 3, then just to provide guidance to administration to move ahead with the real estate process.
Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion that the offer to purchase 424 10th Avenue Southeast Signal Hill Arts Center, along with a portion of bare land adjacent to the east property, dimensions to be agreed upon by the buyer and seller in the amount of $114,500, with a possession date of August 14, 2020, be accepted with the following conditions. Miscellaneous furnishings and equipment as stated in the offer currently located throughout the building to be included in the sale of the property. All items associated with the boiler and boiler components to be included in the sale, and the boiler room to be left in an as-is condition. The city will remove all other items from the property. The city will provide the completed asbestos report on file to the buyer upon acceptance of an offer by the buyer. The city will provide the completed survey of the property to the buyer for review upon acceptance of an offer by the buyer. Upon finalization of the sale of the property, approval of a 100% 5-year property tax concession. And finally, both parties work cooperatively to negotiate and finalize a mutually acceptable agreement.
Second?
I'll second it, Your Worship.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you. Andrew, just a question on the land, the bare land east of there. I didn't see a map or anything what that entailed, but I know there's an access to Heritage Village. Is that separate? Is that still going to be there?
Yeah, so the proposed property that they're talking about is just east to the parking lot of the building, so it includes that small little green space. Just out, if you go through the front doors of Shack, you'll see a green space. So that's the portion of the property that they're looking at purchasing along with the building. For us as a city, we have no real intended need or use for that space. So it's more of just a maintenance item then to us. But the access to Heritage Village will not be included in that space.
Oh, okay. So actually that piece of property, the way you describe it, will be between the building and the access road then. It's a very small area.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
How much were the insurance rentals that were done to that building? That included,
That total. We.
was it about 90,000?
Oh, man. I'd have to get those numbers and get back to you.
Yeah.
We chose to take a cash option payout on the facility so that we could better spend the dollars towards areas that we required for programming. So we repaired all of the areas where we needed access to up to ready-to-use standard. And then we avoided some other areas that were just used for maintenance, or sorry, not maintenance, storage, that kind of thing, and just left them kind of bare bones rather than repairing flooring and whatnot.
And so the original offer was $249,900. We've got an offer of $14,500, and that's, so we've lost money there. Taxes that they're going to be, that they want to give here to these people are $13,000 a year, correct? $13,500?
Well, that'll have to be looked at again once they rezone the property, but based off of what we would be paying if we had to pay taxes on that property, because the city of Weyburn doesn't pay taxes on their own properties, we'd be in that $10,000 to $13,000 amount. So we didn't receive an offer of $249. That was the list price.
Right.
This is the highest offer to date that we have received.
And you haven't dropped that $249 at all?
No, the $249 is still what the list price shows.
And there's where, so by giving the taxes off onto that, that's giving them another $65,000. So they're buying this building for $50,000, basically.
Well, you can look at it a few ways. So one other thing to keep into consideration is us keeping that building up to show capability while we're not in that facility. We're looking between $40,000 and $50,000 just to keep all of our licensing on our boilers, on our sprinkler system, on our elevator, keeping that stuff all in place, plus paying to heat the building and keep the phone on and stuff for everything. So in a sense, if we move the building, we're also saving ourselves up to $50,000 of money that we can better put towards the new facility.
But at the same time, we're giving it to them for $50,000. Yes, we are. On that, you show me how we're not giving it when you have a tax, and giving tax incentives, and I will not agree with this, and we can go out there, but I won't give a tax, I agree with the tax incentives on, and writing off taxes for anybody, because if you give it to one, they all should. So, anyway, we can, we take a vote on it, if you so wish to go. Anybody else? Mal?
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I think it's great that we have someone that's looking at purchasing this building and developing it, keeping it as a heritage site. If the city keeps the building, it's going to become, like everything else, it's going to get run down, and it's going to be harder and harder to sell as time goes on. I do have a suggestion as far as the property tax concession, and I've been struggling a little bit with it, and I'm wondering if we can do a forgiveness on the taxes rather than a concession. And by saying that, I would say we forgive the first 5 years' taxes, and then every year going forward that they pay taxes, that we deduct 1 year. So in 10 years, they'll have the full concession. That way, we're protecting the citizens of Weyburn in that those taxes are always due, and we're not really, just in case, I think everybody means well, and we've given concessions before, and generally they pay off, but the odd time they go bad, and then we've lost that revenue, and we've lost the property to collect taxes going forward. So I'm just putting that out there as a suggestion.
Do you then wish to amend the motion? Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm going to support this. I think it's important, but I do have a couple of questions. Number one, that tax exemption, or however we structure that, Andrew, that is non-transferable. Is that correct? So if the building, if they sell the building in a year, the new owners will not get the tax exemption going forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, to my knowledge, it is correct. I'll let the city manager speak to that one.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Thanks. We do a lot of tax concessions to spur growth. That's not unusual. Every city that wants growth does that, and I think that's important. My second question to you, and if it is of a confidential nature, then don't answer it, but part of the use of the building will be some commercial activity, so there's a very good chance this also is going to create some jobs in the city. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's a current plan from the proposed buyer to actually make use of it for their own
Mixed use.
Their own purpose to as a commercial entity.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for that answer. So although we could say that by forgiving a number of years of taxes, we could knock that off the sale price, we could also, though, make an argument that if we were to hold on to this building for, it's already been almost a year, for another year, another $40,000 that it costs us to continue to maintain it, perhaps more if something should happen. That building's prone to maintenance concerns because it's not new. So I don't have a problem actually with that price. This is the only offer we've received since it's been listed.
Yeah, we received some tire kicking offers, if you may, but they were even lower with no real business plan associated with them. This is the most serious offer that we've received, and it doesn't sound like we've had a lot of people knocking at our door either, so that's why this has been brought to council.
Thank you.
We won't get into, we won't, Mr. Mickle?
Thank you, Worship. Your Worship, I'm going to bring back a little bit of history. I sat in this chair 10, 11 years ago when Signal Hill was for sale. The council chambers was packed, very controversial. The reason being they didn't want it sold. You said it's heritage, and people know that. Andrew, thanks for that. The reason why at that particular time it didn't fly, in my opinion, was we had no place for the groups that were over there functioning to go. Now we have a culture center, a state-of-the-art culture center opening in maybe a year and a half or so. There's a place for these people to go. Now is the opportune time to sell this facility. Your Worship, tax concessions on a normal basis, I'm with you, 100%. However, If it costs us $46,000 a year, in a 5-year cycle, that's almost $250,000 of taxpayers' money. That's just if there's normal circumstances with no surprises. We've not put major repair in that building for that reason, that we can sell it at this number and move on. This building, Your Worship, never did bring any tax revenue. At least after 5 years, we're going to get tax revenue. That's a plus. That's a bonus. So to me, it is there. It is there for the making. I wish the people that are purchasing this the best, because it's a beautiful site, and they take the courage and the know-how to make it work for the citizens of Weyburn. I think it's a slam dunk in my opinion, and I will support this motion 100%. How we come with the tax concessions, the forgiveness or compromise, however you want to word it, I think it can be worked out in the agreement. We do not want to lose this sale. I hate to have it happen twice in a row. Thank you.
Other discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Passed. Inquiries and announcements?
Yeah, Your Worship, I do have a couple things. I have a quick question for Jennifer, if she would. City signs, where are we on that? When are they? The reason I asked that, I drove by one yesterday and I went, oh my goodness, where's our new signs?
Yes, so last week we met with John Halbert Construction to go over them. They are currently booked right now, but we are working on moving the dirt, finalizing the orientation and everything for them, and they are scheduled to start the first week of August. Part of the reason we want to make sure that they can do all the signs at once is just for efficiencies. So they're going to be, once they roll, it's going to be very quickly, but it's just a matter of them starting, so it'll be the beginning of August.
Okay, thank you. The second thing, Your Worship, I need to pass this on. I've had several people comment to me about the work the city has done on our flowers again. So I want to send a bouquet to our city workers for, that's right off of your books, Councillor Mickle. But they are incredible. I didn't think they had a chance with all the dryness and the wind we had early this spring. But from people from out of town and within town, I need to pass on our thanks and congratulations to our city people that are working them and keeping them watered and pruned and whatever else they do to them. I don't have a green thumb, so I wouldn't know what they do to make them look so nice. But just hats off to our people from the city that are looking after that again this year. Not only the pots, but if you see along Travelodge and along those areas, they all look great. So just need to pass that on.
Further to his comment about the signs, there was a couple signs that we were having issues with the government for waiting for permits, were we? Or is that all clear now?
We have all the permits from highways are complete. We are working with the Water Security Agency, just confirmation on one of them.
So then all the signs will move forward?
Yes.
Onto that, which is a total of how many signs?
6.
6 signs. Okay. Anything else? No notice of motions? With that, we shall call this meeting adjourned.